Hey guys, how is everybody doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to dive into a potentially very messy topic, and we're going to discuss Super Mario 3D All-Stars and the pricing. So as we all know, this past Thursday, Nintendo did hold a Super Mario 35th Anniversary Celebration Nintendo Direct thing, which was the big to-do that has been rumored for pretty much almost all of 2020. I talked about it several times. You guys know about it. We've all been following this whole rumor cycle and situation around this Mario 35th anniversary thing. And of course, the big conversation was, are we going to see a Mario 3D World Wii U port to the Switch? And are we going to see this rumored collection of remastered Mario games? Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy were the three main titles being discussed. Of course, we were all curious about Galaxy 2, but Galaxy 2 was never really involved in the rumors or the discussions all year. It was always those other three games, and of course, we found out that all of that stuff was true. Mario 3D World is coming to the Switch in early 2021, and in a couple of weeks, we're getting that All-Stars collection of 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy. Now, I'm sure most of you saw my video discussion and breakdown to this whole piece of news, and I am somebody who is absolutely excited about this, okay? I know that it's not the most perfect thing in the world. Obviously, all year in 2020, I've been talking about how Nintendo has been a little bit too slow and too quiet, especially after the first few months of the pandemic. I feel like it was time for them to catch up, and they never really did. And so to have them finally confirm some games, but have them still be old classic games we've all played before, yeah, that's not ideal, of course. I would love more actual new games from Nintendo. But for this one kind of situation, this one Mario Collection All-Star release, I'm able to kind of set myself aside a little bit and say, you know what, these are just such great games, and I'm so into playing them in HD on my Switch that I'm just excited. So I'm paying more attention to the excited part of my brain than the disappointed part. However, there are two very specifically controversial and divisive scenarios happening around the release of this Mario 3D All-Stars collection. I guess it's technically three if you want to throw in the fact that Galaxy 2 is not included. That does have some people pretty upset as well, but I'm not focusing on that. Besides Galaxy 2, there are two other pretty hot topics when we talk about the Mario 3D All-Stars collection here. The first one is the very confusing decision to have these games releasing in a specific window of time. It's a limited amount of time that we can buy these games for some very strange reason. Only from September 18th to March 31st of next year, so 6 months. That is the only amount of time, that at least that we're being told right now, that you could buy the Mario 3D All-Stars collection, either physically or apparently also digitally. It seems as though they're going to stop making physical copies after March, and that they're probably going to pull it from like the eShop to be able to purchase digitally after March. It's very frustrating. It's very weird. I certainly don't like it. I will admit I'm not extremely upset about it, simply because 6 months is actually a pretty long amount of time, and I mean, I'm going to be buying it the first day, so in the first like 24 hours of this thing being available, I'm going to have it, so I'm not really worried about the limited part because I just know that I'm going to be able to buy the game. So the limited aspect isn't like specifically ruining my life and my Mario gaming time. But aside from that, from a big business picture kind of situation, it is like, yeah, Nintendo, like, why would you do that? It is definitely, in my opinion, a very stupid decision. The only thing I could think of is if maybe this is them making up for the fact that they're revealing and releasing these games later than they initially intended. I mean, these rumors go back to February or March of this year, and the rumor was that at E3, Nintendo was planning to hold a Mario celebration and reveal those games then. And so in theory, in the month of June, during E3, they would have said, hey, here's Mario 3D All-Stars, and maybe between then and the end of 2020, you know, the year of Mario's 35th anniversary, that's the only window of time that would have been available, from June until December, which is 6 months, right? The same 6-month window we have now. But since, obviously, the pandemic changed things, E3 didn't even happen, they decided to reveal these games in early September and release them in September. It just seems like they took the same 6 months from June to December and just moved it back by a couple of months to September from March. I mean, I don't even think they ever needed to worry about a silly 6-month window. Like, You can sell this game beyond the 35th anniversary year, but it seems like that's Nintendo's plan, and so I guess they adjusted that window up until March next year. Now, the other controversy is the pricing, okay? And that's the big thing. It's what this video is really, truly about, is how Nintendo is packaging and pricing and selling this collection. And I gotta tell you, something I didn't expect was how upset a lot of people would get about this. Since these games were revealed, I did get into a couple of pretty big conversations on Twitter about this, where I shared my opinion that I'm not personally bothered by the pricing either, okay? Like, I've been sort of taking Nintendo to task all year. I don't want to say that I've exactly been taking Nintendo to task, just because I've been giving them a lot of forgiveness, just like other companies in the industry, but I've also consistently throughout the year acknowledged the quietness and the weirdness and the mysteriousness and the lack of messaging and communication and the slowness of releases. Like, that has been a problem for Nintendo this year, and I've discussed it all year, okay? So I'm not the one to just give any company that I enjoy a completely free pass to just do whatever they want uncontested. Like, no, every company messes up. Every company should be called out when that happens. And I've done that to Nintendo pretty much throughout the whole year. I've been very patient, but also acknowledging their issues. And so when we get to the Mario 3D Anniversary Collection, I don't really have many issues with it across the board, I'll admit, but I don't want people to confuse that with somebody who's just giving them a free pass. Because again, all year, I've made sure not to do that. But this pricing situation, it's a big deal. People aren't happy that it is $60 for these 3 games, old games we've all played, and are available in a variety of different other ways, you know, depending on how or what you want to buy them for. And for different prices, some very expensive, some very cheap, and people don't like that $60 for these 3 games that really have only been touched up in HD. Let's be honest and call it what it is, okay? These games are the same games. We don't have any indication of any changes or upgrades to content, and we definitely don't see any evidence of upgrades to the graphics, really. They've just been given to us in HD. Now, for me, that's actually fine, okay? I would have loved a full remake. Yes, give me Mario 64 redone the same way Sony did Shadow of the Colossus. Yes, please, I would die for that. I would pay $1 million for that almost. But that's not what they did. They're giving us the same classic game, but it's in HD, so it's gonna look better in that one area. And like, I'm just somebody, for me, I'm not telling you how to feel. This is not a video of me telling anyone how to feel, but sharing my opinion about it. I'm excited. I'm cool with that. It's totally fine for me, even at the $60 price. But a lot of people don't feel that it's cool, and they don't feel like it's a good value, and they see that basically, you know, if you carve these games up and you piece them out, they're obviously $20 a piece, right? It's $60 for 3 games in one package, so it's $20 for 64, Sunshine, and for Galaxy. So really, Mario 64 has been a lot of people's main focus because it's the oldest game with the most outdated graphics engine, obviously, because it released in 1996. And so that game getting only the HD polish means that most people are seeing it as the biggest ripoff and the smallest value. And, you know, I mean, I'm not a crazy person, okay? I understand the argument. I understand where a lot of people are coming from. And I understand how people think, specifically with Mario 64, it might be a big of a problem. Plenty of people have been making comparisons to other collections, like the Spyro collection and the Crash collection. Games that were basically completely redone. They didn't get just the HD treatment like the Mario games. They got completely redone and sold at a valuable and fair price. And people have made that comparison and said, this is so much better than what Nintendo is doing. Nintendo is clearly ripping us all off by releasing these games at $60 for the 3 when you see what they did with Spyro and Crash. And, you know, other comparisons and stuff have been out there. And I've seen a lot of people, oh my God, some of the things I saw on my Twitter feed, you guys, people talking about comparing buying Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64 today for like $10 or $10 on the Wii U eShop like 7 years ago. A 3DS or a DS cart, excuse me, you know, because the game launched the original DS in 2004. And you can buy that for like $8 or $9 on eBay, and so somebody shared that stuff, and it's like, I'm not trying to call people out. I'm just saying I saw so many different arguments, and I will say the Crash and Spyro argument does hold up. That's a good point. The arguments other people are making for how much you can buy Mario 64 and all these other varieties today, To me, that is all bad argument. I don't really think any of that truly holds up, just for me. But when we look at the other comparison to like the more modern games and the Crash and Spyro trilogies, I get it. And you know what? Yeah, they did a lot more to those games. They made them way more modern and they sold them for a great price. And in that respect, from the practical aspect, yeah, there's a lot more that went into that than is going into these 3 Mario games. I totally agree. But for myself, and this will be the last point that I make here, just to talk about my own opinion and perspective. Again, not to tell you to agree with me, just to share what my opinion is. For me, even though I can say, yeah, the Spyro and Crashes might have been a better value based on the amount of effort that went into redoing and remaking those games, I think that I can still look at each individual release here, like, in its own bubble. You know, the Crash release, the Spyro release, and the Mario release. And for me, when I look at the Mario release, the crux of this whole argument for me, the main reason why I'm not outraged by this and I still see this as overall a fair value, is simply because if each of these games in HD was released individually for $20 and you remove the $60 packaging and the All-Stars release out of your brain, and you just picture an alternate universe where these are 3 individual releases, whether they were digital or physical, I think it would not be crazy to sell each one of these with the HD treatment, okay? Not the standard definition Wii U digital release people talked about to compare. In HD, I think each one would be worth $19.99. I mean, when Mario 64 and Nintendo 64 games were launching on the Wii shop back in, you know, whatever, 06 or 07 or whatever, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Nintendo 64 games were $14.99. They were either like $12 or $15 or something like that, okay? Every Nintendo 64 game on the Wii, which includes Mario 64, and if we were willing to pay $12 to $15 for the standard definition, regular, no extra content Mario 64 release on the Wii 15 years ago, why wouldn't we pay an extra $5 to $7 to have it in HD in 2020 on the Switch? To me, it is a completely justifiable value and a completely justifiable difference. I think it was worth the $15 on the eShop back on the Wii, and I think it's worth the $20 to buy it individually today. And so if each game is worth, and obviously that value goes up and up with Sunshine and Galaxy because they're newer and newer as you go. And so for me, I see each game as individually in HD worth $20 a piece. Nintendo is deciding to sell us a package of all 3 of them at $20 a piece for a total of $60. Now, a friend of mine, he's a YouTuber who goes by the name Clocked It, really good guy, makes really, really great Nintendo discussions. He brought up the point that, yeah, but what if you want just Mario 64? Or maybe you want just Mario Sunshine or whatever the case may be. If you want just XYZ game in HD, you can't buy it for $20, you have to buy the whole collection for $60. And to that I would say, yeah, that's true. That's what it is. It's a collection. This is a collection of games. And so I think that Nintendo was willing to risk losing the very, very, very small percentage of people that wouldn't want to buy all 3 games to instead release them as a collection as an All-Stars pack, right? I would guess, and I am just guessing, but I feel like I'm pretty accurate with this. I would guess less than 5% of people would be only wanting to buy one of these 3 games. I think more than 5%, 95% of people who would want these games would probably want all 3 anyway. And if they did release separately, I think 95% of people would buy all 3 separately. Which means Nintendo chose to say, okay, 5% of people, and again, that's my made-up number, okay? 5% of people only want to buy one game, and they won't buy the $60 collection. Okay, we're going to let those 5% just go. Sorry, guys, I guess you're not going to get to play these because you only want Mario 64. But for the other 95% of our millions upon millions of Mario fans, here's a $60 collection of all 3 games. Have at it. And most of us are going to buy it, and we're going to be like, great, I have all 3 games now. There's nothing else for me to complain about. Obviously, it's a tricky situation, and like I said near the beginning of this video, I'm definitely surprised that this became such an ordeal and so divisive for people because I find it a little inconsistent and a little disingenuous from a large majority of the community that's talking about this. And I'm not talking about any specific people, okay? This is just... I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitter, I see tons of random content from comments from people who are just in the community and fans, and I just don't know who they are. So this isn't calling anyone out, but I find the whole thing remarkably inconsistent because throughout the entire year, tell me you guys if I'm wrong here, okay? Throughout the entire year, the majority of people, you know, fans and YouTube creators and everyone else on Twitter talking about these rumors were very excited at the idea and based on the assumption that it was going to be these 3 games in HD releasing as a package, like a full retail price package. Like, you know, yeah, we theorized maybe they would be remade or remastered in different ways, but everyone was very open to the idea that they're probably going to be just HD games, and even if they're HD games, the conversation all year was, oh yeah, they're going to sell these games for HD as a package. It's a collection of these 3 games. That was the rumor, and no one was complaining at that time about, oh man, I hope they don't do this. It would be a ripoff. It wouldn't be a good value, blah, blah, blah. No one was saying that. Only now that it's been released, all of these people are coming out of the woodworks and saying that this is a bad value. And, you know, if you can maybe point to yourself and say, oh no, Rob, I, random person 1,317 on the internet, had been saying in my little corner of the internet that I think it's a bad value. That's fine, but you don't represent most people. You don't represent the larger conversation. The larger conversation, everyone was excited for these games all year, and now they're real, and everyone is just unhappy with the price. Not everyone, but, you know, a contingent of people are unhappy with the price. And I'll end this by saying one last time, if you feel that way, that's fine. That's up to you. Everyone values their own money in their own way, and no one else can determine what value you should place on your own money. If you're out there working hard for your money, you get to do with it whatever you want. You do not have to say, Nintendo, you've earned my $60. You can absolutely say, no, you don't get my $60. But for me, I see the value as justifiable, and I think I've explained why in this video, just my opinion. I'm not telling you to agree with me, like I said, but if you do agree with me, then hooray, I guess we're going to have some great Mario games to play, right? So these are my thoughts and opinions. This is how I kind of see this whole price conundrum happening on the internet and people's dissenting opinions, and everyone is on different sides of the fence. Personally, I'm excited. I think it's worth $60, and I will happily be playing these games on September 18th. That's me. But what do you think? How do you feel about, you know, my perspective and my thoughts and opinions I shared? And then what are your own thoughts and opinions? I think this will be a very downvoted video, and I'm going to get a lot of comments from people telling me that I'm wrong and crazy, and how dare I say this, and that's okay. That's doing YouTube for you, but this is just how I feel. So whatever you think, talk about it below, and with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Real Life to Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.